Okay. Welcome to the Thursday, January 25th, 2024 episode of Deep Cancer Answer. And here's a place where you can ask holistic cancer coaches anything. And if you don't ask us anything, we're just going to talk about stuff that has to do with cancer and health and getting your body to be in the best possible position to prevent cancer and heal from cancer. And that's what we talk about. So none of this is medical advice. It's all health advice. And if you have any questions about what we say, you might want to talk to your health professional, but they might not know exactly what we're talking about, so it might be good to get us in touch with your health professional. I think that's the better idea. Also, too, if there's any chatter or noise or whatever going on your open phone line, I will mute you, and because it disturbs the call, and you can unmute yourself very, very easily. If you're on the phone, you just hit *6 to mute yourself and unmute yourself. And if you're on your computer, there's a little microphone icon down at the bottom of the left-hand corner of your screen. And if it's blue, it's hot. That means we can hear you. And if it's red with a strike through it, that means we can't hear you. Also, too, if you're on the computer and you're muted, you'll see a little mute symbol in your personal square. And you can also unmute from there. So with that, we will get started. We don't have a topic, but we always find stuff to chat about. Is there anybody on here for the first time? We have a 973 number. I don't know who that is. That's just a phone number.
And also Beverly?
I think Beverly might have been on before, but...
Yes, I was on last week.
Okay, Beverly.
I'm going to turn off my Telegram. I'm getting messages. 1 second. Okay.
Wonderful. So, Beverly, have you had an opportunity to test out any of the solutions that we were mentioning last week? I know there was a lot of discussion about some of the things that we were facing.
Not really. I was remiss. I just increased my exercise more and a little more meditation.
Good.
Yeah, both good things. Yeah, absolutely.
And Beverly, sometimes it's about doing little things at a time, small steps, and chucking it in, and making change, and finding out if it works for you.
Yeah. I'm on a fast right now, Daniel fast. So in terms of food wise, I didn't do anything, nutritionally. Just, I guess, like I said, my meditation and the exercise. That's about it. And I try to increase my water consumption.
Perfect.
All good things.
Yeah. I hope so.
And sometimes that's all it takes. When it comes to cancer prevention or cancer recurrence, some of those little adjunctive things you can do in support of all your treatment is
January 25th, 2024 at 3.
Wonderful. So I really suggest that you just chunk out and feel good about what you're doing and where you're going. And you're on the right track, and you have to feel good about the changes you're making. That's what's important.
Yeah. I'm trying to do that. I do feel, good about some things, yeah.
Good. And is there any reason why you haven't made any dietary changes out of interest? Exercising and water, by the way, is yes. But is there any other reason why you haven't made any change, or have you just not decided what you want to implement in your diet?
I was, like I said, I was fasting this month. So that's why I really didn't do anything. So next month when I'm finished with the fast, I am going to try a few other things.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect.
Fasting is good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Very good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's I don't know if you ever heard about the Daniel fast.
Daniel?
Yeah, Daniel fast. They eliminate
Like,
rice and sugars and meats. So it's basically vegetables and fruits and water.
Well, the number one thing we always advocate is the elimination of sugar from your diet, because physiologically, sugar is cancer's food. And if you really want to learn a lot about that, there's actually a TED Talk by Dr. D'Agostino, and he recommends that, and actually he has found through his studies that the cancer cell compared to a normal cell, the cancer cell has more insulin receptor sites. And when we look at scientifically what the role of insulin is to draw sugar into the cell. So that we know that, and he has come out and proven that, cancer needs sugar. And he also took it a step further by, putting sugar and giving cancer rats. And they were full of cancer. You can see under the scan all the cancer. And then he half the group continued the diet of sugar and they died, and the other half where he slowly decreased their sugar content, and some he immediately did. And you could see the receding of the cancer in those rats. So you look up Dr. D'Agostino. It's a wonderful TED Talk so that you understand how crucial it is to reduce as much sugar as possible in your diet. And so that's a biggie right there. So I think becancer.org will definitely support that. We need to eliminate sugar.
Absolutely.
As much as possible.
We have plenty of articles on that, and it's written in all of our educational materials and books.
Yep.
Yeah, sugar is the number one cancer food, and anything that converts easily into sugar,
Right.
like processed breads and most rices, not all of them.
And eliminated. No breads, no rice, no pasta, no sugars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the yummy stuff, right?
Well, one step at a time, Beverly. And one thing that's interesting though is you say you're fasting and you're doing fasting for a month, but when it's okay to choose if you're going to say a plant-based diet or whole-based diet.
Are you going to come back so I can use the restroom?
Yeah, and whatever you do, do that combination of fasting and a good healthy diet.
Okay. I intermittent fast. I do that basically all the time.
Good.
I do eat meat. I eat chicken and turkey and fish sometimes, but very irregularly. Yeah.
Perfect, Beverly.
Beverly, do you have a nutritionist that you work with?
No, not now. No. When I was post-hospital, I had a few dietitian visits, but basically, a lot of the things that she told me, I was doing it already, basically. I never ate a lot of salt or sugar, but I used to make smoothies, and which I basically more or less sort of cut out, because I did make smoothies with a lot of fruit and a lot of bananas. So, they said the sugar content of the bananas was too much, so I was spiking up a sugar. So I did eliminate the bananas, I already eliminated most smoothies, really, because it was a lot of temptation. So I just eat the fruits, like blueberries or strawberries or whatever is in season. I try to eat around.
Excellent. Yeah, because you know what, the big thing is learning to cut the crap. The carbonated drinks, the refined sugars, the all the processed foods and food altered food preservatives and everything else that's in your food. So just by doing the things you're doing is a good start. You're doing the right thing and feel good about that.
Yeah.
Everything that tastes good and makes us what we think or makes us what we think makes us feel good is the opposite.
Yeah. Feel good and it's bad for us.
Yeah.
Do you know one of the big mottos that we're taught in beatcancer.org, and this was Susan Silverstein's favorite comment is that, and that's from Hippocrates, Hippocrates, and that is, let food be your. Go on. What is it, guys?
Let food be your medicine, and
medicine be your food. I'm tongue-tied today. I'm so tired after my conference.
Yeah, I try to live by that motto. I mean, I cut out a lot of the crap I say down in my diet. Maybe about 15 years ago, or just at the turn of the century, I did, made a big change because I was getting more overweight, and, I didn't see nothing really medically wrong, but I knew what could go wrong. And my pressure at that time started to raise too. So, I tried to cut out a lot of, I should say, food things. So the stress was still there, but the food.
And for you, cancer prevention or preventing cancer recurrence is crucial. So you're endorsing and you're doing the right thing.
So I wasn't here last week. So Beverly, did you say you are living with cancer, or you have recovered from cancer?
Post-stroke.
Pardon me?
I had
stroke.
Oh, you had a stroke. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't have cancer, and I don't intend to get it.
But you know what? 80% of the health issues today are diet related, and that comes from who? The World Health Organization, the American Cancer Society, and the Canadian Cancer Society, and a lot of the other organizations that have all of their disease entities. They're all advocating the same thing, and how important it is.
Right.
That the diet is everything. So, yeah.
Well, that I know, but it's like when you go to the groceries or wherever you go, even to the farmer's market now, you have to ask, what has glyphosate, and some people don't know, or you have to read all the labels and try to understand what you see on the labels. So just for me, sometimes it's like, what's next to eat,
Yeah, it's difficult. Definitely, if you're picking up your fruits and vegetables, you want to look for the appeal label, and that's a pretty toxic new thing that they're putting on. Thanks to Bill Gates, I believe he was the one that came up with that.
What
label?
Appeal. APEAL, I believe it's spelled. It's a coating that they put on well, I'll just use the avocados because that's the grossest one. They put this coating on the avocados, and the skin looks like it's staying ripe for much longer than it should. And you can't wash it off. And then what happens is people are buying avocados that they think are looking pretty good and ripe, and then they open them up and they've already since rotted inside. So you got to watch out for appeal. It's all about the appeal. That's the kind of the oxymoron or whatever. So
the appeal is not good, right? Is it not
yeah,
good?
appeal is not good. Appeal. So you're already looking for glyphosates.
Right. Yeah.
So you want to try to be as organic as possible. But they're trying to pass this appeal stuff on organic stuff because they're saying it was grown organically, but it's got this appeal stuff on the skin.
Okay.
And so
and
lemons.
Avocados are one of the things I eat a lot of.
Yeah, I know. It's a really good, healthy fat.
It is. It is fabulous.
Yep, it's a great food, and but yeah, just look out for the appeal label.
And also, you know what? If you're worried about what's in your foods for chemicals and things, this is my motto. When you look at the ingredients, if you can't pronounce some of those words, you probably shouldn't be eating it.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That I say. Very few.
And there's some long words.
Yeah. And 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 I know a lot of people say, you shouldn't eat carbohydrates, you shouldn't have bread, but I think it's what you do. You can have bread, but try whole wheat and with multigrain in it, that kind of thing, and the ancient grains, because they're really healthy for you. Or make your own. What I advocate is make your own bread. Get a bread maker and make a loaf of bread every week, and there's no preservatives in it, and you know what's in it, and you know that it's healthy for you. Use whole wheat flour, or actually things that don't have gluten in it. And so, and there's lots of products that don't you can use in place of flour.
Yeah, I do that. Like I said, I really do that. I buy the Ezekiel bread, and I used to make my own bread. Sometimes I even, grind the millets and the farro. Sometimes, because I started like repeating the recipe on the back, not the recipe, the ingredients on the back of the bread. And I use some of the ingredients. I put, lentils or farro or millet. I grind
Lovely.
and sort of make it. But I'm a bread, bread eater. So sometimes I might have more than I supposed to, but
if you're eating healthily, that is important. Okay, sometimes we get so hung up on having to do things that we don't just stop and think that we have to live to and be reasonable and not stress ourselves out over it, because we don't want to be stressed. Because it's diet and stress are big contributors to cancer and to health issues. So, just feel good about, from talking to you the last couple of days, you've had wonderful, actually, I'd love to have you as a client, you're so compliant. So, you know what, feel good about what you're doing, Beverly, because you have made integrative steps in caring for yourself. And whether you've had a stroke or you have cancer, whatever it is, you have been so proactive in taking care of yourself that it has, and I'm sure it is making a difference in how you feel. And it will, at some point, come down to the fact that these changes will overall affect your health and your wellness. And it's your definition of health and wellness and how good you feel that you gauge that from. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I was mistaken on the appeal spelling. It's APEEL. I put a picture in the chat. So anybody that's able to pull up the chat, you can see what that label looks like.
Okay.
There's also, they don't state it's a pill, but they would state on bags or containers that this items has been sprayed with natural wax and blood-driven sprays or something like that. And so pay attention to what it says.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of sneaky ways that they'll tell you that there's all sorts of things on your food. So just be on the lookout for any suspicious language, any interesting little small text that looks like it might not be supposed to be there. But a lot of times that you can find right on the label. Unfortunately, not always. Sometimes, due to certain loopholes and regulations and laws and what have you, certain things can get on the products that we don't necessarily know of. And that's why it's important to try to source your produce or anything from trustworthy suppliers. It's very difficult. Obviously, the best thing you could do is grow your own. That's very difficult in these modern days sometimes, especially depending on where you live. Another great idea is if you can find local farms, local farmers, local suppliers, community farms, and co-ops. Those are all fantastic options as well. But we do the best that we can with what we have. So when you're in the grocery stores, just look out for any tricky language.
Yeah, that I do. Yep.
I even saw where they had an organic sticker over top of the appeal. So the appeal, it said appeal on the bag. It was labeled on the bag, and then on top of that, they put a sticker that said organic.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
But
Yeah.
because people are wising up and they're knowing what's in their products, and they're starting to vote with
Yep.
they're purchasing, and they're just trying to sneak this stuff now. So you just got to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my tinfoil hat moment.
I think we have a couple more people online. Does anyone else have questions?
Yeah. So
Yes.
we
Can
actually
anybody
asked-
talk about skin cancer?
Go ahead, Craig.
He said skin cancer. So what's the specific question about it? I mean, one of the things we can talk about.
Should everybody go to the dermatologist to get their skin checked?
Oh,
I would
should-
say if you see something that is causing you alarm, you should definitely get it checked. But the more important thing is the topic of sunscreen. That's where we can start to really go down the rabbit hole.
And I'll kick us off, right? There's all sorts of chemicals in body products that have no place in the body. That's the unfortunate truth of it. So many synthetic chemicals, fragrances, and things that are purported as good for our skin and good for our bodies, people are slathering themselves up with it and actually contributing to their skin cancer because our skin is very porous. It's very absorbent. So anything that we're putting on our skin or near our bodies is going to get pulled right in. And that's why it's important to be mindful of what we're putting on our bodies. Our diet is not just what we put in our mouths and eat. Our diet is what we put all around ourselves because our body's taking it all in. And skincare is one of the biggest offenders in chemically laden products that people just think are normal. Meanwhile, though, there's a lot of solutions out there that are natural and only made of clean, minimal ingredients. Whether you want to go the animal-based route or the plant-based route, there's such a fantastic myriad of products in both directions. And sunscreen, they get too aggressive, but it's a scam, really. You know,
It is.
The sun is so good for you. The sun is so good for you. It is the provider of life on this earth. And sometimes we have our bodies in unhealthy conditions where we can't handle the sun as much as we should be able to. For example, if we're not used to getting lots of sun, or if we have a lot of toxins in our body built up, this will allow the sun to react with our skin negatively sometimes. Because if we have chemicals in our skin from products, etc., that we haven't gotten out, well, what does the sun do? You ever see, like, the sun affect a bottle of chemicals or something? You see, like, a cleaner and it says, don't leave this in the sun, it'll react? Well, it's the same thing for those chemicals that are stuck right in your skin. And so a lot of sunburn is actually just the sun interacting with toxins that are in your skin. Now, of course, there's ranges in everybody. Everyone's skin is a little different. Again, depending on how much practice you've had exposing yourself to the sun, different levels of melanin, etc., what have you, different levels of hydration in your skin. Everybody's experience is going to be different. But this fear of the sun is just so unfortunate in how it has people avoiding what is such a healthy and essential part of human life.
Hey, you brought up exactly what I was going to talk about. Am I going on your side?
You broke up a little bit, but now you're good.
I was wondering if I was echoing. Yeah, you brought up exactly what I was going to say. Even if it works as advertised and it's not toxic, it's still shielding you from vitamin D.
Yes, exactly. That's what I want to say next.
Yeah, so go ahead, Maya. You can take over on that.
No, you can continue.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk to us about what's the good and benefits of vitamin D. I was just saying that, it's like you said about sunglasses, messes with your melatonin and serotonin cycles, and even if you had healthy sunscreen on, it's shielding you from the vitamin D, which is crucial, and it's one of the main ways that we get it is from the sun.
Right. It's most bioavailable vitamin D you can get. It's from sun source. There is no other vitamin Ds are as bioavailable as sun, being exposed to sun. By putting anything on your skin, it deprives you from vitamin D. And a vitamin D is actually not a vitamin. They call it a vitamin. It's actually a hormone, which plays such a huge role in especially when it comes to inflammation. There's a lot of links. The science has been studies has shown that the low vitamin D levels do correlate with cancer, such as breast, prostate, ovarian cancers, and similar is like skin cancers. So by putting the stuff on your skin, you're not doing yourself a favor. So like Zach said, everything grows under skin. We get energy from sun, and we're blocking that energy that we need. So the most important is just to be wise what time of the day you expose yourself to the sun. You don't want to go in the middle of the day when the sun is high and the heat is very strong. You don't want to burn your skin. But having the sun exposure in the mornings and in the evenings are the best time to get your vitamin Ds, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, the body is going to create cancer if you expose yourself and burn your skin. Like Zach said, if there's chemicals in it and you burn your skin with sun, yes, the chemistry is going to change on the skin and could cause cancer. But other than that, sun is something that we really need, and I think we deprived in that part, like letting something that's been given to us and just going and paying money and getting the supplements. That doesn't make sense for me. I mean, paying money, putting the toxins in the body, and then paying money getting the supplements to increase the vitamin D when we can get it for free. So that doesn't make any sense to me, right?
They'll always try to sell you synthetic versions of what's available to us in nature. And I just want to clarify something that Maya said. Yes, it is absolutely the easiest time for our body to absorb the sun in the morning and in the evening, right after sunrise, right before sunset. But that doesn't necessarily mean that midday is inherently harmful. If your skin doesn't have a lot of practice and built up, time in the sun, maybe then, and you're someone that's sensitive to it, yes, then maybe you want to focus on that sunrise, sunset time. But if you know your skin, you know your body, and you have practice being in the sun, there's nothing inherently harmful about the midday sun even when it's really strong. It's just there's a lot more to deal with. So you're really going to want to make sure that your skin is properly hydrated from the inside and out.
Yeah, the only time, for example, like I barely use, probably I use it 3 or 4 times in my life, a sunscreen, and I never use it, and I always get compliment on my skin. So that means sun has nothing to do from like keeping you healthy or not to get cancer, right? So the only time I would use sunscreen, or I would suggest to use it, a natural source of sunscreen, not just like a junk from the store, is like when you live, let's say, in the northern part of the country when the winter is strong, and then you're going to Florida, and the first day when you're there, to adjust to that heat, maybe for one day, just to put a little bit, just for your body and skin to adjust to sun. And then after that, you don't need it. That's the only time that I would talk about sunscreen. Other than that, no, never.
And she's still not talking about using any banana boats or any of that. We're talking about using some nice, healthy, clean sunscreens.
Right.
Okay, can you tell me what sunscreen I should use?
We're not allowed to endorse products.
Yeah,
yep,
we're not.
We don't do that. We don't. It would constitute a sale, but.
Okay.
Maybe Maya has some natural options, and also too, I was just reading or watching something about after you do get sunburn, to use the castor oil.
Yes.
Instead of aloe.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Castor oil is great. And I have a question.
It's like a miracle thing, that castor oil. It just does everything.
It is. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. So I have a question. Why would you want to use sunscreen?
That was for you, Craig.
Yeah. You know what, May? I think the most interesting part is that, remember, your skin is the largest organ.
Yeah, it is largest organ.
Yeah, and yet we don't even stop and think about what we should or shouldn't be doing to protect our skin. And you know what? A lot of it is you have a sun umbrella. What happens these little days you had a sun umbrella? The rest of your body can still be exposed. And also, let's look about women and makeup and the products, the bad things that are in our skin, and that we're putting right on our face, and our shampoo in our hair, and because it really the blood supply to your scalp is very large into the roots of your hair, and when you're putting those chemicals in, they're being rapidly absorbed. And so I really think it's important that we take a look at our shampoos, our conditioners, our cosmetics, even those anti-aging products and creams we use on our face, because what they contain is not necessarily good for you.
Yep, underarm deodorant is a big one with the aluminum or whatever it is that's in the it's in most of them.
Oh, the only thing I could say that, remember one thing, all these companies that are promoting all these products, they are just making money. That doesn't mean they're good for you. That's all.
It is.
You always
it can be difficult.
It is, yeah. You always have to think of the way it is like your body meant to have all of those things, what surround us. Our body meant to have sun. Otherwise, God would block something. You know, God would block the sun if we don't need it, right? So if it's there, that means we need it. We need the air, we need the sun, we need the water. I mean, like, we need fruits and vegetables, that everything has been provided to us. Whatever man created is just harming us. That's what I just could see everywhere. Everywhere when you look at it.
Like everything, you know, if we think more balance rather than omission, you know, then, you know, like when you were saying, why should we have sunscreen? It's still highly promoted. It's still, you know, it can be really, it can be really frustrating to try to determine, well, what's the best sunscreen? What's the healthiest? You know. And it's
just the regular oils. Like coconut oil is great.
Yes.
I would say it does have SPF about 15. I would say, I believe so. Like just the plain simple coconut oil. But yeah,
coconut oil.
You don't want
to
put the coconut oil and go lay down under the sun in the middle of the day at 2:00 in the afternoon, and like let that oil kind of
fry you.
become a toxic on your body, right? So you just have to be wise with what you do, you know.
I like what you said, Maya. I liked what you said about when, like, say, we're from the north and we go down to Florida, and just giving yourself a certain amount of time each day when you first couple of days. Because I do the same thing, because as you know, I'm here from January through to the end of April. And I really spent the last week, and I go for walks and I come home. I'm not sitting in my dew. It has been cold in Florida. But essentially, I do my best to try to limit the time that I spend in the sun. And I usually by February, I can sit out for 2 or 3 hours, 4. And not get burnt at all. In fact, I even have a light tan, but I never get darkly tanned, ever. I don't ever do that to myself. And so I think it's about moderation. It's about doing what's good for you. And it's common sense.
Yeah.
I know that seems to be going out the window for a lot of people today. But you know what? You know, you have to advocate for your health and be responsible of yourself in this responsibility. Now, and let's make that response ability. You have the ability to properly respond and do what's right for you.
Right, exactly. You don't need someone else to come and tell you, oh, sunscreen is good for you. Who said that? You know, who said that? That's a very good question. I always would say, who said that? Who said what is good for? I know what's good for me. So that's like you have to know what's good for you. So just be wise what you do.
Yes.
What you put on your body from outside and from inside. That's all matters.
Well, Craig, you most certainly opened up a can of worms talking about that one, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, like the media.
And I wanna just address the root question that Craig opened up with, because he said, should we go to the doctors and get tested for skin cancer, this, that, the other? Well, that's a very personal question, and ultimately, whatever makes you stress less is probably the best idea. If you're someone that's very, very stressed and needs this answers and you're freaking out about it, not you, Craig, but anyone, then yeah, maybe go get an opinion or get a verification that you're all good. But also consider this, and this doesn't just apply to skin cancer tests, it especially applies to breast cancer tests and a lot of different tests in the medical industry, where the test itself can actually be causing some damage and causing some harm. I am not sure exactly what the process for a skin cancer test is, but I know the breast cancer test can be very harmful, including lots of radiation and physical damage as well. So let's keep that in mind when we go to a potential service provider that can sell us a treatment or sell us a remedy, and then they're the one that are going to test us and tell us if we need said remedy or said treatment. Is there conflict of interest? Hopefully they're a great person and will not tell you anything dishonest. I also think that certain tests are worth considering if they're worth the risk of the test or not. So
and look at your family history. If you have a history of cancer in your family, you want to take proactive means to effectively monitor yourself, right? But and go to the doctor. Yes, have your mammograms, but there's some of the modern ones where you're not brushing and squish. They're actually put in cups and they're different. There's a different technique. So think about techniques, especially women with larger breasts too. So think about what facility you're at and what techniques they can have for you that's more up to date, or if you're concerned about cancer and in your family and other issues, then think about what would you want in your care and in your treatment, because it makes a difference, especially diagnostically, what they can do, and you want to minimize the amount of exposure as much as possible. And it's kind of funny because as a cancer patient, you have to, first of all, you go in and you have the mammogram, and then they go in and then they do a scan, and then they do so many other different things. There's constant test, and then they want an MRI. Oh, well, then now we need a diagnostic MRI with contrast. Oh, and then they want another MRI to put the markers in, and it goes on and on and on. And sometimes it's nice if they can just say, hey, can we just combine this and just have one and do everything all in one? Yeah, because if they're going to say, if you know from your mammogram that you've got a lump, then okay, get them to do the MRI and the testing all at once, including putting the markers there and anything else they need to do, so that you don't have to go back and be scanned again. It's a one-time thing, not a 4-time thing. So it's your exposure that you ask about, and you advocate for your care.
So another thing when it comes
hold on, before we go any farther, I think Carl had something to say when Catherine started speaking as well.
Yeah, when it comes to skin cancer, I've seen this a lot from former clients, former business partner, even my ex-wife. Typically, I've noticed it was fairer skinned people. I did notice that. But I've seen testing and treatment to skin cancer. So testing usually involves scraping a piece of whatever looks suspicious off, and then they send it away to be tested. Sometimes they'll just cut a piece out or even freeze it, and there's a lot of damage, like the scarring and so it's pretty invasive as they start cutting little pieces out and off. They're freezing pieces, but never never do they suggest anything to do for yourself, right? It's always stay out of the sun. That's all they can ever say about that.
And I
meanwhile, people are in tanning beds, right? So that was my ex did that. She didn't go in the sun, but she tanned the tanning bed.
right, which is more dangerous than the
Totally.
into the sun.
Yeah.
Right?
Much
Not good.
I would say, like, the way I look at this picture, like, should you go for testings or not, instead of like stressing yourself out, like, should you go? Again, it's your choice, but I would probably look into the picture of saying, what can I do? What can I learn to keep myself healthy, instead of stressing yourself over should you go or not. You know, that's the picture. I mean, that's the way I would look at the picture.
When it comes to
when you're educated enough, you don't have that fear of getting skin cancer, even though if you have a family history, you know, and you know what to do. This is how I look at the picture.
And also,
go ahead. You were talking about screenings, like for breast cancer and stuff like that. I don't know if anybody's familiar with thermography, but it's growing in popularity.
Great,
and it
great
may
stuff.
even supersede mammography, because it's not, you know, compressing on the skin and actually spreading cancer cells.
Less invasive, for sure.
It's less invasive, and I know for me, I do it every other year, and it's actually it actually spotted an early cancer in my breast before mammography did. So you know, it's something to really research.
Much more sensitive equipment.
Yes.
Yes.
They can detect it much earlier, and there's no radiation involved.
And
the unfortunate thing about it, though, the unfortunate thing about thermography is that it's still not recognized a lot. So once you have it done, but you don't have a doctor who's going to recognize it, then what's the point? You know? So that's the frustrating thing about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
And that was
what is it called?
Thermography, yeah.
Thermography.
Yeah, we have articles on that. We work with now I can't think of the doctor's name, but we have articles in our blog, and we also have one of our most popular YouTubes is the one on thermography, where that doctor that we work with is speaking.
Yeah. Just put it in the chat for anyone that wants to get the spelling of that.
Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, certainly.
It's about the vitamin D and the sun. So I have a query about vitamin D first begin. So when I took supplements and I go to get it, it says the oils on it is sometimes soy oil or almond oil. Is there a preferable oil or something I'm supposed to look for in terms of the oils in the capsules?
The coconut oil would be the one that I would look into for, but I don't know. The vitamin E.
No, D, vitamin D.
No, I know. You mean ingredients inside the capsules, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's so yeah, vitamin. There's a coconut. I know there's a brand out there that makes vitamin D with coconut oil. So that's the one I probably would look for. I forgot the brand name, so I know there's one exists, but it's very hard to get a supplement of vitamin D in natural form. It's very hard. So what you're getting is basically a synthetic, and the best way to get the vitamin D is, as we said, it's from some animal products, fats, like egg has them, meat has some vitamin E, and there's another way actually. Sun is, of course, number one. And the other way, if you use mushrooms, you can place the mushrooms under the sun for about an hour or two, and they will build vitamin D, and then you can consume the mushrooms.
I tried it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that, Maya.
Yeah, I tried that too,
I've
but
learned something today.
Yeah.
that
the
is a
sun is
long
very
history.
powerful. The sun can charge up certain things. Mushrooms are evidently one of them. Water is also another thing. There's something so-called as sun-charged water, where you take a glass container of water, and you don't want to do this in plastic especially, and then a metal cup will block the sun. So you take a glass container of water, you ideally place that glass container of water on the earth, on the soil, on the grass, so there's a nice electrical connection flowing, and the sun, over time, will actually change the molecular structure of the water and structure those water molecules and make them very, very healthy for you.
And that's how I do my iced tea. That's how I do my green tea. I put all my green tea in a glass container out in the sun. It just naturally infuses, and it makes sense.
That's wonderful. And of course, you want to start with as clean a water as you can. As ideally, you get some sort of very, very filtered water. Whatever your preference is, reverse osmosis, distilled. There's lots of other different filtering modalities, so you want to get the stuff out of it to begin with. Then you could sun charge it, which will structure it some more, and yeah, drink it up. I've actually only experimented with that a couple times myself, but it's a highly renowned practice by those who do it regularly. And again, glass containers only. I think it's fine if it has a metal lid, and as long as the glass is able to get that sunlight and those sun rays.
Yeah, I keep my lemon water in the sun for 10-15 minutes a day. So, and then you're getting like a very well charged water when you drink it. So I make like a jar of lemon water with the lemons in them, and I keep it in the sun for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Yeah.
Has anybody ever had a skin biopsy?
I have a friend who had it.
Yep, my ex-wife all the time. Yeah.
I actually, what I find interesting is I had some spots on my nose, and I went to a dermatologist, and he actually has like a little phone, and it's got a little scope on it, and he can look at it, and then he can determine the depth of if you have cancer and what if it's squamous cell or if it's he can differentiate it, and yeah, it's a basal, what is it, and or if it's just precancerous. And that's what they have found for me. I had a couple of precancerous spots, and he just froze them off, and that's fine. And I wear a hat when I'm out in the sun. I do wear a hat, and that makes sense. So I know, okay, I am susceptible. So do something about it and wear a hat.
Right. But if it's not like scraping or touching or cutting, the areas will spread cancer even more.
Yeah.
So when people decide to go for some kind of incision on their skin or inside their body, they have to double think about, how is that going to be affecting? Because it's to the body, it's a wound, it's a damage. That's how body sees it. So yeah.
Well, because I had precancerous, and then they froze it. And then it was still there, and so they took a biopsy, and they called back on Tuesday and said it's not cancerous.
Okay, that's good.
But it's taken a long time to heal up the hole where they took the biopsy.
Yeah.
You can. I can make a suggestion of using castor oil and vitamin E.
Yes.
Oh, vitamin E.
Yeah.
I just had a biopsy.
Castor oil.
Organic castor oil.
Yeah. And wash it with baking soda, and then using those. So I could make that suggestion for healing.
Yeah.
So I just had one on my biopsy on my tongue. And that was one of the big concerns that I have, because the area that was cut out, and I asked the oral surgeon, I said, so, because it kind of looked like a squamous cell. So I said, okay, so if you're going to cut it out, are you going to spread cancer cells? And he said, oh, that's called seeding. And he said, no, that's not going to happen. And so when I got the results, the nurse, I don't even know if it was a nurse, that gave me the results, kind of gave me half of the results. So the results that she gave was that it was hypercallus. It was like a callus from my back tooth, but so she said it was hyperkeratosis, and so she said, and so that's benign.
Yeah, that's what I had.
But then she said to me, she said, but it has to be checked every 6 months. So when I hung up the phone, I'm like, okay, if it's just a callus and it's hyperkeratosis, why does it have to be checked every 6 months? So what she didn't tell me is that microscopically there was dysplasia and basal cell hyperplasia. And so I'm like, because I said, can you send me a copy of that report, which is really, really important for people to get copies of their reports sometimes because they're not given all of the facts. I always, if I have any kind of an image, any kind of a procedure done, I want a copy of that report. So I asked my dentist, I said, okay, so if there's a dysplasia, I'm a cancer survivor. So if there's a dysplasia and a hyperplasia, I as a nurse know that to be precancer. So why am I going to wait 6 months for a precancer to maybe become cancerous or maybe stay precancerous? I said, would it be to my advantage to maybe get freezing or lasered, And she said, well, we're going to keep an eye on it, and I'm figuring, I got to have a second opinion.
Good for you. And advocate for your care.
And you have to. You have to
keep
advocate.
Keep an eye on it until it grows, and it's going to be late too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you just have to. Yeah. And so, who was the one that was saying that he had the same thing? Who?
That was Craig.
Craig.
Yeah.
What was your experience, Craig?
Okay, so I had this thing on my left arm below the watch, and she said it's keratosis, and she froze it. And then I went in again, and they looked at it, said, "Oh, it's getting better." And then I went in again, and she said, "Let's just make sure." And they took a biopsy, a circle, and the week later, the results came back and said it's precancer and it's a keratosis.
Yeah.
And so I still have it. So it's healing. It's been like 3 weeks since that's healing, and I had the biopsy 2 weeks ago.
Yep. Sounds familiar.
So you've had those too, where they take a little circle, which is like the size of an inch.
That's a lot.
That's big.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it grow back to the regular skin?
Oh yeah, it will grow unless there's a cancer in there, and it would heal.
Well, they said there's no cancer. They already checked. They already did the biopsy.
Okay, if there's no cancer, it should grow back.
Yep.
Yeah. There's no cancer. They did the biopsy, and the results came back and said it's precancerous, and there's no cancer.
At this point, though, right? Is a precancer? Was all of the precancer cells removed as well?
Oh, well, they froze it.
Well, they froze it though. Yeah, they froze it.
Yeah. Well, the way skin grows back in the event of a trauma, such as a slice or a piece taken out of it, there's a lot of variance in that. That's going to depend on a lot of factors. That's going to depend on what resources your body is working with that it can use to rebuild the skin. What nutrients are you intaking? I don't know offhand, but I imagine there's certain nutrients that are very vital to skin production. How hydrated are you, and how hydrated is your skin? What environments is the area facing? Is it constantly being abrased more and more and being irritated, or is it being allowed to healthily exist without irritation? There's not necessarily a guarantee to how something like skin is going to heal back or repair itself. There's just a lot of variables. And that's why it is really essential to consider the ramifications, like I was saying before, we do tests like these in the future, because they can potentially have some long-lasting effects. But we are going to wrap up here. We are at the top of the hour.
Can I just add one very quick thing? Very quick, like just because it's on the skin, that doesn't mean your skin has been exposed. Those conditions comes from internal damage as well. There's a liver might be involved in that. There's digestive system might be involved in that. So the best thing to do, Craig, is to consult with a nutrition coach or someone who can guide you on the right path. It's not just because it's on the skin. That doesn't mean it's like from outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's just the weakest link.
Exactly.
Oh, because they said because you've been exposed to the sun and it takes about 10 years, this is what showed up.
Well, do they have a proof for that? That's my question. Is there proof for
a what?
Proof.
Do they have a proof on that?
No.
Yeah. They're guessing.
Yeah,
it's saying something you did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your recommendation that I do now? I mean, I guess I go back to the dermatologist and they'll look at it.
Well, that's from that part, but for yourself, consult with a nutrition consultant where you can change your diet and see what you can do about it, and who can give you more suggestions like how to, what to do for it not to come back. That's basically what I would say.
Topically, what would you?
Topically, it's hard to say topically because it might be from liver damage also. You never know. It might be from alcohol overuse. It might be from many different things. From alcohol overuse, for example.
Alcohol?
Yeah. So I'm not saying you are alcoholic, but I'm just saying there might be so many different ways of getting cancer. It's not only from topical.
No, I was just saying, topically, what can you do to address the wound?
Well, as I said, like you can use like baking soda patches. Soaking the gauze into the baking soda and putting the patches on, and after that he can put like a vitamin E and a castor oil mixed together.
Yep.
And I've done castor oil patches. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's what you could do for right now, Craig, is just do the topical stuff to help heal your area that was operated on, biopsied. And
you can also use green tea. Just make a green tea for yourself, a strong green tea, and then put the patches. Put the compress on it, and hold it, and and hold it like let's say a quarter of a cup on the tea bag of green tea, and then you can put the gauze in it and just hold it on your skin for half an hour, and then after that put some oils on it.
Okay, so you're saying drink the green tea and put the
tea bag on your skin.
Put it on your skin, the green tea.
Yeah, or you can put the tea bag on it. Yeah, tea bag itself, you can put it on it.
Oh, okay.
Green tea bag, yeah. Okay.
All right, we got to close up. So thank you all, and we will see you all here next week.
See you next week, everybody.
Good week, everyone.
Good week.